Okay, now what we're gonna do here on Stephen King Saturday Night, we're gonna talk about the Dead Zone. Yeah, starring Christopher Walken, Martin Sheen, directed by David Cronenberg. It's about a guy who has a car accident, wakes up 5 years later, his girlfriend's moved on, got a husband, got a child, don't want him no more. He finds out he's got psychic abilities, see the future. You know, it's great. It's great. Okay, I'm done. Done with the Christopher Walken impressions. But yeah, that's what it is. Christopher Walken plays Johnny Smith. There's a spent a lot of time on that name, did you, Mr. Stephen King, huh? But Johnny is in a car accident. He's in a coma for 5 years. When he wakes up, he finds out his girlfriend has remarried, and they have a son together, 10 months old. And then he finds out he has a psychic ability to, if he touches someone, he can see the future. And what happens now is it's like three different stories. One is he's brought in to help with a murder investigation by Sheriff Tom Skerritt. He's in this movie, which is weird because I just watched the Poltergeist movies with my son, like part of yesterday and the rest of today. We watched all three of them. Tom Skerritt's in the third one, of course. And then the second part is he's asked to help out. He becomes, because he's a teacher, and then so he starts tutoring, just on his own, away from the school. And he has this one kid named Chris that he's brought to him, and he starts, tutoring him, and then he finds out the kid is going to get into, an accident on the ice. And then the third one is about a politician played by Martin Sheen, who is basically going to send us into World War III if he gets elected. Yeah. There's also some ambiguity with that character I want to discuss when we get to it, because it's very interesting. But yes, so we start off. There's a great. Okay, first of all, like I said, this is directed by David Cronenberg, and for Cronenberg, this is surprisingly light on the body horror for a guy who's known body horror with scanners and Videodrome and all that stuff. The Fly, very light on body horror in this. I'm sorry. I start going into the walk and talk. Very light body horror in this. It's a habit. It happens. It's a walk-in movie. Which, by the way, I was very iffy on this when Christopher Walken in his serious role. I know he won an Oscar for Deer Hunter, but still, I have my doubts because everything I've seen him in, he's goofy, like Kangaroo Jack. Come on. Even in serious movies like The Rundown, he's a goof. I know he can play a villain, but can he play a protagonist like this and be serious? And you know what? He's actually really good. The beginning of this, when he's with his girlfriend, he's this normal guy, average Joe, and he says, something's going to happen, because he's like, I'm going to marry you someday. And she goes, I know you will. And then I'm like, okay, something's going to happen. They're on a roller coaster ride at first, and he gets a headache, right? And then when they leave, when he goes to leave, she offers him to stay there. And I thought it was going to be revealed that she's also a psychic, because when he says, I'm going to marry you someday, she says, I will. And then she offers, you could stay here, And then he ends up in a car accident that puts him in a coma. So I thought she was a psychic. Like, she also was psychic, but then it's revealed that he's been in a coma for 5 years and she's moved on. If she knew that was going to happen, why would she just move on? But then again, she saw it was going to happen. But if maybe she didn't know 5 years. I don't know. It's never explained with her. Maybe she's just not a psychic. But unlike another character that we'll talk about later. But he wakes up and he's in a, he's told us it's been 5 years. She's moved on. She's got remarried. Which, by the way, that's terrible. Like, your boyfriend's in a coma and you're just gonna move on? Come on. Come on. I mean, that is crude. Woman, the fact that he even, like, becomes friends with her, more than that, we'll talk about it, but, it's beyond me, but he still loves her. And in fact, turns out she still loves him, so who knows. But anyway, so nurse comes in and he touches her hand and he tells her that her daughter is going to die in a fire, and they're able to, or is stuck in a fire, excuse me, not going to die because he doesn't change anything. She's still stuck in a fire, they get her out. And apparently that didn't change anything because it's not until later. Apparently she's not supposed to die, which I thought was weird because I'm like, oh, you can change things. They don't push that yet. I'm like, why isn't he being told, oh, you can see the future, you can change the future? Because apparently she wasn't supposed to die. She just was supposed to be in the fire. Okay, because it's happening at that point in time. Not in the future like the rest of these are. Or except for the one. He's got his doctor, Sam, and when he holds his hand, he sees the past of when, back in World War II with everything, and he tells him, your mother, she's still alive. And they never come back to that, though, because he calls her, he's not able to do it, and it's like, I understand that, it's your mother, you didn't know she was alive, you might have some feelings, she didn't try to find you, maybe she thought you were dead, who knows, but, yeah. And so, eventually he learns how to walk, and then he finds that Sarah, his girlfriend, is going to see him. She tells him, she married this man, and they have a son. She doesn't have a job because motherhood is 24/7, and I went, oh boy, movies in the 80s. Not too progressive, huh? Think it's because your woman has kids that they can't hold a job either. There are some families that are like that, but nowadays the mother holds a job, Even in like the 90s, my mom worked 2 jobs for her kids. So, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so this, gets to him, and then his mother dies. Something's blanking me. Well, I can't remember why she died. She was seeing something on TV, and there were these sidekicks. There's like a press conference. He's talking about the fire and everything, and they're like, this guy, hey, can you tell me, see my future? And he touches his hand and he says, his brother committed suicide or something. And then she's like, oh, leave my boy alone. And she ends up like having a stroke or something. And by the way, his mom in this is played by Willard's mom from the Willard remake, which I thought was funny. She doesn't look like she's aged any. This is 19, unless they're putting makeup on her. I could see that, but I don't know. This was 1983, I want to say, and she doesn't look any younger than she was in that movie. I must have put some kind of makeup here, but I'm like, no, run away. She just start calling you Clark, and you're going to make friends with the rats. But, in the end, she's in Smallville, also looking the same age, so it's really weird, the age here, you know what I mean? But, who knows? So, then begins the first part of the anthology kind of thing he does. Sheriff, played by Tom Skerritt, comes to him and asks him to help with a murder investigation. He first says no. Then he realizes, he sees the stuff on the news and he's like, I have to help him. I have to. I think between this, he does see Sarah again. She comes over with the child and they have sex. Because she's like, I promised you. She does unbutton her blouse. I'm like, really? You're going to cheat on your husband with him just because you promised him that his first time would be with you? And where was the kid during this? Did they put the kid to sleep? What? His dad wasn't there, so I don't know. Because Johnny is staying with his dad right now because he doesn't really have a place, but then he does. So he agrees to help with the murder investigation, and he tries to, do it from a pack of cigarettes that they found, but doesn't do anything. For all we know, it could just be like a fake pack, which once we find out who it is, I don't know why they, hey, you smoke these, don't you? But yeah, so they find luckily for that, quote quote luckily, there's another murder nearby at a gazebo, and he touches his body and he finds out that it was Deputy Dodds. And again, why didn't the sheriff say, hey, you smoke this brand, don't you? But then again, if you're part of law enforcement, you're not going to be a suspect, right? But before they can even do anything, he's gone. He's like, he took off in your squad car, Sheriff. He's like, I'm thinking, you ever think he starts running away when they're in the middle of a murder investigation with a psychic there, that perhaps he might be a little bit guilty of something and you should try to stop him? No, he runs to his mother's house. There's a whole mother thing in this, where he kills himself by, and this is like the most Cronenberg thing in the movie. He kills himself by putting scissors up on a thing and just impaling himself. And then it's revealed that the mother's in on it, and she shoots Johnny. That's the end of that one. And now he's on his own, and he's, doing private tutoring lessons, because he was a teacher, like I said. And he gets talked to by this guy, this wealthy guy. He's like, hey, can you tutor my kid? He's having a bit of problems and stuff. And we find out the problems might be more than just with the kid. His name is Chris. He's like, I'll come and meet him, see what it is. And he talks to him and stuff, and so he tutors him. And then we get a visit from this guy who is on a campaign for this politician played by Martin Sheen. Billison, something like that. I don't know. Let's call him Martin Sheen. And it turns out it's Sarah's husband. She's there too, and the guy is like, oh, him. The look on his face, I'm like, did she tell him that she had sex with him? Because the look on his face, sort of like jealousy. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Just saying. But maybe she did tell me. I had to, most likely afterwards, because if he told him before, I'm gonna go do this, probably wouldn't have brought the kid with. I just don't understand what happened with the kid during the time they're having sex. But anyway, and we find this out, so there's a connection. But for this, the Chris is there, so he hugs Chris because he's all distraught. He's like, and then he gets a vision of Chris and two other boys falling through the ice and dying. They're gonna die. So he tries to tell the kid's father, who by the way is Crest from License to Kill, the guy who played Crest in License to Kill. Tries to tell him, he doesn't believe him, but his anger and the ice is gonna crack. The whole thing makes Chris question it. And the guy even says, hey, you know what? It's done. Forget the whole thing. Then the next day he's like, hey, you ready to go? He's like, what? I thought you were canceled. Oh, I just said that so he'd shut up. Come on, you going? And he doesn't go. And then we cut to, we don't see anything. We cut to Chris, Johnny pick up the newspaper and he sees the story. And it says 2 die in ice. So he calls the guy, and you see the guy, and I think they're trying to mess with you to make you think that the kid died, because he's sitting there distraught. And then Chris comes onto the thing, and I was thinking, the whole time I'm like, there's no way that Chris went. He's not dead. Chris picks up the phone, he's like, hello? Who's there? He doesn't say anything. Johnny? Because he knows it's him. Right, now we're on to the main plot for the rest of the movie. The politician. This slick-ass politician who's introduced to Johnny when he goes to the house to tell Chris's father is played by Martin Sheen. He's this guy, he's a slick politician type. To even the point that this guy, the guy that plays Crest, is like, are you going to vote? He goes, I'm not even registered. I'm like, you're not? You should. Vote against this bastard. Because even he sees that this guy's a slime, right? But he's going around, he's shaking hands, he's kissing babies and all that thing. Everything is happening. So one fateful day, right? One fateful day, we see some of the like crooked things. Like he goes to this newspaper guy and he's like, "You're not gonna print this. How'd you get that? That's no, it's no nothing to do with you. You're not gonna print this." Or he rips the thing, and there's some kind of disparaging remark about him. Something that's gonna ruin his chances of getting. This is just for Senate, but he plans on going further into presidency. We find out what happened. We'll get to that. So there are a couple times where he says, "I saw this in a dream. I saw this was going to happen. I'm going to be elected and I'm going to become president one day." And I'm thinking, they don't go too much into it, but is he also a psychic? Does he have the same abilities as Johnny? Because it's very interesting, but they never play with it. And I haven't read the book. It could be in the book they had spelled out more. But according to Joe Blow, there is more about, it goes more about the politician, but I don't know if it spells that out. But I would like to know if he's supposed to be, if you read the book, it's that spelled out in the book, is he supposed to be a psychic too? I don't know. It just seems that way. But yeah, so Johnny decides during the campaign day to go out there to try to talk to Sarah. And he gets lost in the crowd as the politician, as Martin Sheen is coming through, and he's shaking people's hands, kissing babies, and he shakes Johnny's hand, and Johnny sees a vision of the future. I mean, this guy becomes president, and he's going to launch nuclear missiles at other countries and cause a World War III. And he doesn't care. Even when, after he's done it, people come out, "Hey, I don't think you should do this." He's like, "The missiles are flying." And he even says something like, "I saw this, it's come to me." So again, I think he might be psychic, but they don't spell it out. And it's really weird because they do this thing a couple times where he won't let go of someone's hand while he's had a vision. But they're like, one of the times, he just, like, I think it's the Dodds' mom, he just kind of touches her and he sees it. And he doesn't hold her hand or anything. Like, for very long. I don't know. My guess would be longer. So then he talks to Sam, his doctor is like, "If you had power to go back to before Hitler rose to power, kill him, would you do it?" There's no stutter, that was me. "Would you do it?" He's like, "Without a doubt, without hesitation, I would have to. But it would cost me your life. Be worth it." So he decides he's going to do it. And something I noticed, he goes like this before he's even ready to do it. Like, he has another headache. And I think his first headache is when the powers were starting to come to him. So I think this is his powers are leaving him because they know he's about to die. So one thing I don't like is when he goes to fire it, Sarah sees him and yells out, "Johnny!" Like, he's way up there. I know he's only one and it's a balcony, but it should be quick enough. He fires a shot, it misses. And so what does this son of a bitch do? Martin Sheen. He grabs Sarah's baby. Because at first he's like, "Oh, is that your baby? Bring him up. Like, oh, something's going to happen with this baby. I know it." He grabs the baby as a shield. And of course, someone takes a picture of it, so he's ruined. We find out. Takes a shot, and he misses. And then they shoot him, and he falls from the balcony and dies. And he touches Sheen's hand again. I don't know how, but he sees the future. I think he comes up and he's like, "You think you're stop me?" And he touches his hand. And he sees, it's all over. It's ruined, and he shoots himself in the head. So he kills himself because his career is ruined. So he sees that he did something right. He did the right thing. And he says goodbye to Sarah, and she tells him she loves him. Then he dies. And the movie ends. It just ends. There's no, because they gave us the exposition that that he's ruined, but because you think, oh well, isn't he? Can he just do what he did before? Well, he tells Sonny he's got where's the photographer? You got to stop me. He's like, I don't see him. Basically, once you see what he did with the child, like, I may be your bodyguard and lackey, but that's too much. Endangering a kid, insinuating even he didn't know what the guy was capable of. So he's not gonna win nothing. He's gonna, he's gonna end up taking his own life if you find out. So yeah, I gotta say this was pretty good. The direction by Cronenberg, the acting by Walken in this is fantastic, and even like the music by Michael Kamen is great. Like I said, that opening where you see like the town of Castle Rock, which is another famous place in Castle Rock, Maine, famous place in Stephen King lore, along with Derry. It just, you see it and you see something like, what is this? And it forms the title of The Dead Zone. And yes, I know they did a TV show based on the book more so than this, but no. I believe in the TV show, Sarah actually marries the sheriff, Banner or Brenner, something like that. But yeah, this was pretty good. I actually enjoyed this. So yeah. So what are your thoughts on The Dead Zone? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm Scotty, and I'll see you in the next.